Hey, what is up, everybody? I'm here to give you my last of the NXT reviews. After this, I'll be all caught up, um, and hopefully, I can actually start watching the shows live and just review them that way. But we're gonna have to wait and see. Um, but now this is gonna be NXT from January 4th, 2017, the first NXT of the year. Um, and 2016, I would just say, may not have been the greatest year for NXT. I think they had a really good start with NXT Takeover Dallas, and then they had NXT Takeover the end. They had a lot of superstars come in. Um, I would say maybe after NXT Takeover Brooklyn, or maybe like around the draft time is kind of when they started. NXT kind of started to kind of diminish a little bit, um, because of the fact that they don't have a lot of the stars. Like the women's division doesn't have a lot of stars as it used to, because the champions obliterated the division. So, and they lost a lot of the women because of the draft. So NXT's kind of had a little. I think I would say a little hiccup. I still think NXT is good. A lot of people saying that it's not good. It still has really good wrestling. I think the specials are awesome. It's just definitely not as big as it was last year. I would say that. Well, I mean 2015, not in 2016. I think NXT just had a little bit of a bad year. Not a really, I don't even want to say it had a bad year. It just kind of went down. They lost a lot of their star power. They lost a lot of like the main they lost a lot of the main faces. They lost um I think that's really what killed them, because I would say the booking and stuff is still really good. I still think the wrestling on the show is really good. They have good tag teams on the show, so I think NXT can pull through this. Right now, it's just a little bit of a hiccup, so we're gonna have to wait and see what 2017 brings for NXT. Because this is kind of like the year, because I think they can wake up enough where they can, you know, I don't know if we'll ever be as it was in 2015, or if it'll be better, but we're gonna have to wait and see. I still think NXT is good every week. I think it has good wrestling. Think it's I still think it's like a little bit better than what they're producing on the main roster. So I do think NXT still has some good stuff going on. But yeah, I would definitely would agree that it's not as big as it was before in 2015, when they were having awesome takeovers, awesome NXTs. We had a couple of not really bad NXTs, but not like as good as they can provide. Um, but yeah, so now on to the stuff. I'm gonna do the same thing as I did with the last four videos, or five, I don't even know. Where I sit down, I talk about a match or a promo segment, and um it goes to commercial, I'll come on here and talk about it. Um, so this is now going to be this is another taped episode. This is now going to be the episode where they went over to Australia and had their tour, and Shinsuke Nakamura and Samoa Joe had their steel cage match for the NXT Championship. I think that match is going to be on this show. I'm not sure. Um, but we also have other matches that are going to be on the show. So that we have the. I'm just going on my phone because they announced them like the on the last episode. So I'm just going to go in by this. Um, we're gonna have a tag team match on the show. It's gonna be Bobby Roode and Elias Sampson versus Buddy Murphy and Ty Dillinger. And since it's in Australia and Buddy Murphy is the hometown, well, the home country boy, he's gonna be really over, and he's gonna get a huge reaction. I could see this being a huge year for Buddy Murphy. We're gonna have to wait and see. And we have Bobby Roode, who's now the number one contender to the NXT Championship, which they're not going to mention on the show because, like I said, this is a taped episode. Elias Sampson, who's aggressive, and Ty Dillinger, who's had a few off and on with Bobby Roode, has always come close to getting that big victory, hasn't quite gotten there, who's really over, so he's probably going to be really over. Um, we're also going to have a triple threat match. It's going to be Liv Morgan versus Ember Moon versus Billie Kay. I think this match could be really good. These are like the three top women in NXT, excluding Peyton Royce. And I'm assuming whoever would win this match will be the number one contender to the NXT Women's Championship. Um, and I think Billie Kay, I believe this is her hometown. I think she's from Australia, but I really don't remember, not gonna lie, because I haven't seen her wrestle in a few days, so I kind of forget. Um, So I think this is going to be a good one. I don't know who's going to exactly win this match though. And then we also, I don't know if it's going to be the main event, but we have like the last announced match on the show. It's going to be an another NXT tag team title match. It's going to be hashtag DYI defending the titles against TM61. Obviously, another home country, and obviously they had when TM61 came to NXT, the first match they had was against hashtag DIY. So this match I think will be really good. You have TM61 who are a really good tag team, and you have hashtag DIY who are a phenomenal tag team, and I can't wait to see this matchup. So yeah, we got 3 great matches announced for this show, and I think this is going to be a great episode of NXT. So now that I've talked about it, let me watch it. Okay, so we had Corey Graves and Tom Phillips on commentary for this show, and we had the first match on the show. It was the Revival versus Riddick Moss and Tino Sabatelli, I think is how you say that name. Tito Sabatelli, I don't know if you know, was on, if you remember that show they had on the WWE Network called Breaking Ground. They did like a whole story on him. So he was someone that at least people knew. And I guess this tag team, I actually forgot about it, was in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics at one point. Um, and this match actually was good. I enjoyed the match. It wasn't anything great, but it was, I'll say it was okay, actually. I wouldn't really say it was good, but I would say it was okay. Um, Pretty much, it was about a standard tag team match. The Revival win with the Shattered Machine. Really nothing, not a lot to say. It was a fine match. Tito Salvatelli looked good, but it was really a way to put over the Revival and show that they're coming for those NXT tag team titles. Obviously, when this is filmed, I guess they didn't. The rematch wasn't really announced yet, but overall, like a good solid tag team match. Next match was another tag team match. It was Elias Sampson and Bobby Roode versus Buddy Murphy and Ty Dillinger. Elias Sampson comes out and he has one of those wireless mics that performers use when they're going to sing a song. Um, and he keeps trying to sing, but the crowd keeps chanting at him. He says, "If you keep chanting that, I won't sing. But lucky for you, I like my own voice, so I'm going to continue to sing." So then he sends that he's going to pretty much leave Australia, which everybody cheered. And I thought that was pretty good stuff right there. And obviously, Buddy Murphy was over huge here, like I had talked about in the beginning of this video, since this was his home country. Um, and overall, this was a solid tag team match. Bobby Roode was chanting "Glorious" at Buddy Murphy, and then he chanted, I think, I forget exactly what he chanted, but he chanted "Orny 10," I think I forget exactly, and he flipped his hair back at Roode, and he got a little bit of the water that they put on their hair, since it gets so cold in the rain, um, in Roode's eye. I thought that was pretty funny. Um, and eventually, Ty Dillinger gets tagged into the match, and Bobby Roode doesn't want to face him because of what happened in NXT TakeOver Toronto. So he goes in the ring with Sampson, and then Bobby Roode ends up distracting the referee, and Elias Sampson takes a cheap shot high knee, and the heels get the heat on Ty Dillinger for a while, and Bobby Roode's up on the corner, laying right hands on Ty Dillinger, and everybody was chanting one at him because they didn't like his punches. So then he stopped and started laughing at him because he didn't want to pander to the crowd. And Ty Dillinger takes his head off with a super kick, which was cool. And then Buddy Murphy gets the hot tag on Elias Sampson, and he's about to get the victory with double knees from the top rope, but then Bobby Roode breaks it up, and he takes down Ty Dillinger, and he Irish whips Buddy Murphy into him. He goes for a clothesline. Buddy Murphy ducks, and Ty Dillinger tags himself in. Murphy takes out Roode with a Hurricanrana, and he hits a tilt-a-whirl dive on the outside, and Ty Dillinger beats Elias Sampson with the tiebreaker, and that was really the match. I thought, like I said, I thought it was a solid match. Nothing really to complain about. Okay, the next match was a triple threat match. It was Liv Morgan versus Billie Kay versus Ember Moon. This was overall actually a good triple threat match. I enjoyed it. Um, Ember Moon and Liv Morgan both tried to shake hands, and Billie Kay um, stopped it. She's like, "No, that's not going to happen." And they both get in her face and they try to attack her, but she ends up escaping. So it's just a one-on-one match at the meantime between Liv Morgan and Ember Moon, and they start doing chain wrestling and stuff to each other. And then eventually, when Billie Kay picks the bones and tries to attack Liv Morgan, but Liv Morgan's able to reverse it into a roll up, but Billie Kay kicks out, and Liv Morgan then hits a crossbody onto Billie Kay, but she ends up kicking out, and Liv Morgan kept trying to pin both Ember Moon and Billie Kay, which was cool. Then eventually, Billie Kay tosses Ember Moon outside the ring. Not Ember Moon, Liv Morgan outside the ring, and she just dominates Ember Moon for a while. But then eventually, Ember Moon starts to make a comeback, and anytime Liv Morgan would try to come back in the ring, she would get knocked out. And then, but Ember Moon starts to make a comeback. Liv Morgan gets back on the apron, and she gets thrown right back out of the ring onto the apron, and Ember Moon accidentally super kicks Liv Morgan out of the ring. So then Billie Kay ends up hitting a clothesline, and anytime Billie Kay would do something, the crowd was really behind her, saying, "Hey, we want some Billie," because obviously they were in Australia, and she was trying to be the heel, trying to act like she didn't want to hear any of that. And then eventually, Liv Morgan tries to, because Billie Kay throws Ember Moon out of the ring, Liv Morgan tries to come up from behind her and attack her, but then and Billie Kay sees her coming and tosses Liv Morgan out of the ring, and she ends up landing right onto Ember Moon, and she ends up hitting her back on the apron, which looks sick. And then eventually, Billie Kay tries to pin them both, but doesn't get the pinfall. There was actually one spot I forgot about where not Billie Kay, but Liv Morgan ended up doing like ended up rolling Billie Kay around and kept trying to get quick pinfalls. And when she was trying to pin both Ember Moon and Billie Kay, they kept kicking out, and she would land on them, which was funny. Then, but yeah, after that spot, Billie Kay tries to pin both Ember Moon and Liv Morgan, but they both kick out, and she chops both of them, and then she goes off the ropes, and they both hit a double chop on her, and then Ember Moon hits her comeback onto Liv Morgan, and eventually she tries to go off the top rope and hit a splash on Billie Kay, but Morgan stops her, and she tries to hit a superplex on her, but then Billie Kay comes over, hits a power bomb onto Liv Morgan, and then Ember Moon hits the springboard stunner, which he calls the Eclipse, for the win, and Ember Moon goes over, so I fully expect her to be the new, since she won this match, to be the new #1 contender to the NXT Women's Championship, which I would obviously be fine with. And overall, I thought this was actually a really good triple threat match. I was into it. Okay, next match was a NXT Tag Team Championship match. NXT Tag Team Champions #DIY versus TM61. And this was a really good match. You know, TM61, not TM61, well, yeah, they're good too, but #DIY, you could just throw them in there with any team and they can make the match good, because it just, you know, this match and then the match they had at the last show and then the match at NXT TakeOver Toronto, they just have great tag team matches. NXT TakeOver Brooklyn too. So you can just, they're a really good tag team. I think because they're both really good singles wrestlers, so they both know how to be great tag team wrestlers, because you have their skills combined. So at first, obviously you have TM61, by the way, the not the hometown, but the home country heroes, because they're from Australia, and the show was in Australia, like I've been saying. After watching the show, I realized there's like a lot of wrestlers in a way that are from Australia, but anyhow. At first, the two teams just start chain wrestling with each other. Johnny Gargano hits a roll-up into a kick to the head. And eventually, Nick Miller hits he holds up Johnny Gargano for a long time and suplexes him, which I like that spot. And eventually, #DIY dominate Shane Thorne for a while. They just, you know, beat the crap out of him for a while. Eventually, Nick Miller ends up getting the hot tag. He starts going off on everybody on both #DIY. He hits a back suplex on Shane Thorne and a an exploder suplex onto Johnny Gargano. Um, and then eventually he hits a suicide dive on the outside onto both members of hashtag DIY. And yeah, it was really good. And eventually they both, I think they try to go for the victory, but Johnny Gargano kicks out of it. Um, he ends up hitting a German suplex on Johnny Gargano, kick out. And then Tommaso Ciampa starts getting the hot tag. The hashtag DIY hit the Inzaguri into the knee strike in the corner. Um, and what else? Johnny Gargano goes for the roll through kick, but Nick Miller ducks it, and they both started exchanging roll ups on each other, and then eventually everybody this is when the match really gets sick. So then Tommaso Ciampa's up on the turnbuckle, about to get superplexed by Nick Miller, and then Shane Thorne tags himself in, and then Shane Thorne goes up on the top rope, and they do the superplex spot, and Nick Miller power bombs Shane Thorne, and while at the same time when Shane Thorne hits the superplex on Tommaso Ciampa, the spot they always do in triple threat matches. They did it in a tag team match. I just kind of I did like that spot because it showed how important it was to TM61 that Nick Miller was willing to sacrifice his own tag team partner to become NXT tag team champions, and Nick Miller puts Shane Thorne on top of Ciampa to get the pinfall, and he goes to after Johnny Gargano, make sure he can't break up the count, but Johnny Gargano pushes Nick Miller into Shane Thorne while he's pinning him, so the pinfall gets broken up, and then Johnny Gargano hits and everybody was so mad about it too. They were even chanting that was 3, the crowd, and then Johnny Gargano hits a super kick on Nick Miller. Shane Thorne hits an uppercut. Tommaso Ciampa tries to go for a discus clothesline, but Shane Thorne ducks. But then eventually he hits the discus clothesline, hits the powerbomb into the backbreaker, but he goes for the pinfall, but Nick Miller breaks it up, and then Johnny Gargano and Nick Miller both get tagged in. They start hitting right hands and left hands on each other, and then eventually Gargano hits a forearm. I even forgot one spot where they did the moonsault into the fist combo. That was even good when TM61 did that to Johnny Gargano. But eventually, this is now I'm getting back towards the end. Johnny Gargano takes out Shane Thorne, and hashtag DUI hit meet me in the middle. The tag team finish for the win and retain the NXT Tag Team Championships. And like I said, really good match. Then afterwards, they go to the back. TM61 get a huge ovation from the fans, and then hashtag DII come back out, shake their hands just like they did in the beginning of the match, and that was the end of the match. Like I said, a really good tag team match. I think this match, like I talked about, hashtag DIY can probably wrestle any team, and the match will at least be a good match because they're just a phenomenal tag team right now. Okay, so then we had the main event. It was a steel cage match for the NXT Championship. NXT Champion Shinsuke Nakamura versus Samoa Joe. And like I said, the last match I watched, I've already seen this match. And now that I know that I've watched the full match, I still feel the same way. It was a really good way to end off their rivalry. I'm not really going to go too much detail into it. I kind of talked about it already. There was a couple of spots though that I didn't see because that they didn't show in the match that I liked. When Samoa Joe hit the splash into the cage, when he hit the power bomb, pinned him, and then Nakamura kicked out and he put him in the Boston Crab. The Inzaguri, and when Nakamura falls off the cage, there was a sick drop kick that Nakamura hit, and his body is just so unique. The way he hits his moves, it just looked awesome. The crossface the STF transition into the crossface. Shinsuke Nakamura's drop kick into the cage, but obviously we know what happens. Shinsuke Nakamura won with the Kim Sasha. He hit it 3 times, and he ended up retaining and walking out with his NXT Championship. Obviously, I think this was great cage match, a great way to end off their rivalry, and it showed that video package again that I loved. So I've talked about it in the past, and now we're on the fences. We're now going to have an NXT takeover. What's it called? San Antonio. NXT takeover San Antonio. We're going to have Shinsuke Nakamura versus Bobby Roode for the NXT Championship. I actually kind of can't wait to see that match. That's going to be awesome. And I'm hyped to see that match. It's going to be good to see Shinsuke Nakamura versus Bobby Roode. That's going to be really good. I think, I don't know. I kind of can't wait to see what they do with this feud. And obviously, now that I've talked about it, we know Samoa Joe is obviously he has to now go up to the main roster because there's really nothing left for him to do in NXT. He's done everything. He's the first ever two-time NXT champion. He's now the shortest reigning NXT champion in history. So I think now it's time to call Samoa Joe up to the main roster, which I think is going to happen at the Royal Rumble. He's going to be one of the surprise entrants, and he will, I don't know if he'll win the Rumble, but I think he'll be in the Royal Rumble match, which would be awesome. Everybody will love it. And if he won the Royal Rumble match, I have a good idea about who you could face, which you can watch my possible WrestleMania 33 matches to find that out. But yeah, this, like I said, I like this match, and this feud was great too. I think this is probably the feud of the year for NXT of 2016, and it was a great way to close it off. And I'm glad they showed this tour, so it was great. And overall, I thought NXT, even though like I said, this was a taped episode, but I still thought this was great. I liked about every match on here. I liked the women's match. I liked the tag team matches on this show. They have the first two, but I thought the NXT tag team title match was great, and the steel cage match was great. So I think this was a great show here, and a great way to kick off the new year for NXT. So now that we've kind of kicked off the new year, we haven't really fully kicked off the new year because technically this show aired in 2016 when they really went to Australia in real life. But now next week they're gonna fully kick in the new year. Which I'm gonna miss NXT next week probably because I'm going to be busy with some other things. So I'm probably gonna, a lot of my videos are gonna either be pushed back to Saturday or Friday. I haven't decided yet fully, but I hope you guys enjoy have enjoyed this review. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and subscribe to my own The Talkinator and CM Brothers channel. And that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.